Sukhi Hotu, Dhammaputri and Dhammaputras. I see some faces quite bewildered, didn't hear this greeting before. Normally you wish each other Amitofo, but sometimes when you go on the streets, what you hear? Chou San or Ni Hao. But what is so good about Ni Hao? What is so good about Chou San? Nothing good about morning. But you wish each other good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we continue doing it because we have been culturalized. That's how we have been brought up from small, in school. We just do it. But Sukhi Hotu, we do not know. We never heard it before. Sukhi Hotu means may you be happy and well always. Not in the morning only, not in the afternoon, not in the night, but always. It's a wonderful greeting. And it is born out of Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, all together in that greeting. And I wish you with these palms together like a lotus bud. This is a lotus bud. And I wish that you will bloom like a beautiful lotus. That I wish, I bring to my mind that you will bloom like the pure, white symbol of the Buddha, the Dhamma. It's wonderful, but we don't practice. So from now onwards, maybe we can start practicing. You didn't wish each other Sukhi Hotu. So wish somebody on your right, Sukhi Hotu. Dozo. Sukhi. I deliberately use this example to illustrate two things. One is that we have so much of wonderful things in our history, in our culture, Buddhist history, Buddhist civilization, Buddhist culture. We have forgotten or we have thrown it away and taken in something else foreign. Particularly in Chinese civilization, Chinese history, so much of wonderful things during the Tang and Sung dynasty. The best period in Chinese history, we have forgotten all these things. That's why I introduced that as an example only. That we must now bring back these things. Second point is, I have been looking and reflecting and contemplating on the practice and practical application of Buddhism. The practice and practical application of Buddhism. The Buddha did not want us to study the Dhamma and become an expert in the Dhamma, memorize from cover to cover. Even if you know little Dhamma, but if you can practice it, you will benefit. Knowing the Dhamma is not good enough. So those 2 points are very important because this is the focus of today's talk. And of course all my works that I've been doing. Today's talk we are focusing on the failure of education systems. It's a very serious topic and it's a very serious statement. How can I say that education system has failed? And if Larry, he's a lawyer, he can take me to court and say, who are you to say that education has failed? Education has failed. Second part is to get the answer to this failure. What shall we do? As Buddhists, we have a role to play, we have a responsibility, and we also have the answer. But we never thought about this. So I want you to think on these lines, and hopefully during this talk and discussion, we will be able to come up with good ideas and good answers and good response. So we need to now focus at education and see why it has failed. How is it that I can say very confidently and very boldly it has failed? I say education has failed. There are a number of reasons, but I'll just jot down a few reasons. Number one, today there is more crimes and more social ills than any time in human history. Agree or not? Yes. Number two, not only the numbers, That means it's very extensive, but also the type of crime is unthinkable. The kind of crime that you read today, you will find out today, publicized in the newspapers, is unthinkable. Number 3, not only adults are committing social ills and crimes, children as young as 8 and 9 years old. You read the papers, as young as 8 and 9 years old are committing social ills and crime. How do you explain this? Education is supposed to make you better human beings. Education is supposed to make you to think, to behave, and to talk in a more refined way, in a more cultured way. But the opposite is happening today. We have more children going to schools. There is more opportunities for education than even 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, they didn't have so much of facilities. There is more infrastructure, better facilities. Not only opportunities, better facilities for education. Better buildings, better technology, better equipment, all kinds of things. And there are also more resources invested on education. More people are involved in education. Yet, the opposite is happening. So that's why I am confident and bold enough to say the education systems have failed. Not in Taiwan only, but all across the world. All across the world, in many parts of the world, the education system has failed. Some countries have realized it and making some changes, some reforms, some adjustments, some reviews. But they are all very, very superficial. They are not going to the main problem. They're just looking at some aspects and changing. They say something wrong with the teachers, as though the teachers are the ones responsible. They are not responsible. You find that in the school itself, there is so much of delinquent behavior. Children are not behaving the normal way. In schools, so what you expect when they grow up, you're not going to expect anything wonderful from them. Another problem is the problem of policy. The political leaders, the government leaders, policy makers, officials, they have a wrong understanding or wrong concept of education. If you read the papers, you will find some political leaders says, we want to educate people so they are able to produce more. They become better engineers, better professionals. We want people to go up the knowledge ladder. And they can earn more money and the country can benefit more. This is happening all the time. So policy makers emphasize education with employment. Bosses want better qualified people. Mr. Chang will say, I want a better accountant who can work very well. I don't want anything else. If he can work well, he can produce more work, I'm happy. Like that, even employers are looking for people with qualifications. The whole education system is geared to exam, getting a certificate. You go to school, you go to college, you go to university, you want a certificate, PhD or degree or honors. Everybody is chasing after a piece of paper. But is this education? This is not education. Education, the actual meaning of the word education, it is derived from a Latin word called educare, to draw out, that is in human development terms, whatever there is talents and skills in you and to make you a better human being. That is the objective of education. So you can have a better qualification. You can come from Harvard, you can come from Yale, and you can bring about a global economic crisis because you produce some crooks from Harvard. The global economic crisis today that you are facing is because of some very clever, very qualified bankers have played the whole world around and made global crisis. Nothing else. And out of greed, because they have millions, they want billions. And now we all must try and solve this problem of some people who have taken the world to the crisis. In terms of each country also you have very clever people doing all these things. Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka, you find this happening. They are all very educated because they are PhD or some big qualification. That is not education. Also, you read in the newspapers very often, businessmen, entrepreneurs, industrialists producing goods which are destroying health, which are killing people, but good money, very good margin, very good profit. You eat poison because they want quick money. They put all the poison chemicals into the vegetables and into the meat, and you eat all these things. We are drinking poison and eating poison, but that is the education system they follow. Last one, governments. Also you have leaders who don't care about the people. They just want to have power, very educated, very clever. They just run the country for their own interest. Because the education system is not geared to developing the human being. The method of teaching is wrong. The method of teaching in schools is wrong. In teaching terms or terminology, they use the word pedagogy. Pedagogy is a French word, or in English pedagogy, which means teaching method and technique. What do they do in schools? They only focus on memorizing, on rote learning. You just memorize, and also focus on knowledge, data, just knowledge, data. And that is in learning psychology, in teaching psychology, learning psychology is referred, there are 3 levels of learning. It's referred to as cognitive. This is a table, this is a chair, this is a man, this is a woman. All cognitive. You see something and you associate that with the learning. It is only just knowledge. Today you don't need to memorize. You press the computer button, you can get everything you want. But children have to go to school and memorize and memorize and memorize. It's no use. That is the lowest level of learning. Very basic learning. After that you have the second level, that is affective. Affective, not effective, affective. Affective learning is where you have analysis, synthesis. You analyze, you synthesize. You have some facts, you find out something else. You are creative. You develop your aesthetics, beauty, painting, art, literature, dancing, singing, all the fine things in human creativity. You develop that. But this is neglected. The third level is psychomotor. This is the third level of learning called psychomotor, where your mind and your body is involved in the learning. So not only do you know, you become what you know. You internalize your learning. That whatever you learn becomes part of you. You behave, you think, and you speak and you do things, your actions are all based on your learning. Not that you learn something and you go and do something else. So this psychomotor is very, very important. And this, the Europeans have come out, this. But we don't understand, we don't recognize, we don't appreciate that 2,500 years ago, the Buddha had talked about pariyati, patipatti and pativeda. Long, long ago, he has talked about this, he has taught this way, and he has proven that this is successful. I'd like to ask Brother, I only know your name easily, Brother Larry. What impresses you most about the Buddha as a person? As a person, you know who the Buddha is. What impresses you most? Pardon? Yeah. What impresses you? What about him you like? What about him that you are attracted?
He is a wise man.
Wise, very good. Anything? Anybody else? What impresses you most about the Buddha? Anything you feel about the Buddha that attracts you? Anybody else? Linda, what attracts you about the Buddha?
Humble.
Humble, good. You're all right. But what is most important, which we forget and we have overlooked, is that the Buddha is the greatest teacher ever known in human history. He is the greatest teacher. His method of teaching, his technique of teaching, and for 45 years, not one day, not 1 week, not 1 month, 45 years he crisscrossed from village to village, from town to town, from kingdom to kingdom, from city to city, all across northeastern India. He walked. He didn't teach in the morning only. He didn't teach in the afternoon. He didn't teach in the night. But morning, noon and night for 45 years, the greatest teacher. And his method, he used pariyati, patipatti and pativeda. Pariyati is just basic knowledge, theory, just the theory base, foundation. And his pariyati had more than just knowledge. He also asked you to understand this knowledge. It's no use having knowledge the way the education system is going today. Just knowledge, but no understanding of the knowledge. No application of the knowledge. So if you just have knowledge, it's no use in terms of human development in the way we want human beings to be. So the Buddha is the greatest teacher. But it's so sad that we don't look at the Buddha as the greatest teacher. And we are not using his methods and his techniques. So wonderful, powerful techniques. He met people who were completely different in their thinking. And he was able to change them. He was able to transform Angulimala, a murderous serial killer. He taught kings, queens, princes, prince, butchers, merchants, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, all across society. Not just monks, but the whole of society. He taught his own son, he taught children, and he used different techniques and methods. We need now, especially as leaders and as parents, to see how we can use the wonderful way the Buddha has used to teach. And we would be able to make a tremendous impact and a tremendous contribution to our whole of our society. Not just Buddhists, the whole of society. This is a challenge that I have taken. I've spent some years doing this, and I want more people to participate in this in their own way. You all have talents, you all have skills to address these problems that we face in society. Sukhi ho tu.